I wasn't planning to make this video in the first place, but I am making this extra video just in case my statements get taken out of context. So to begin with, have I made fun of the main administrator's English language fluency? Yes, I have. And am I gonna pretend that I didn't? No, I'll just put it out there and admit to it, I have. But what I didn't do is make a fake account on SGWiki. I have never made any account on SGWiki. You can check my IP address again if you wish. I am just saying that even if there is like some account on SGWiki that resembles my name, I'm just gonna say that is not me. It's probably someone trolling. The main administrator has created fake accounts to infiltrate my friend Arthur Jie's site in order to revert all the edits and sabotage it. Yes, he has done that before, but I am not going to stoop down to his level of creating fake accounts just to wreak havoc on his site. Now I'll be talking about said dyslexia and color blindness because that one, my statements can be very easily taken out of context. So I will explain this again. So this format over here is actually preferred by most of us because it is tidy. Every single thing is in one neat column, and if you want to find a bus service that is in between the numbers of 141 and 150, you can easily infer and find it. So what I mean is that in the past, 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, and so on and so forth, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 150. So in the past, every single one of these numbers had been used before. But nowadays, there is no 144, 146 had been reintroduced, I think last year or something. No, in 2023, I'm so sorry. And then now 148, 149, they're no longer in use. So there are effectively only 7 bus services in these columns. I mean in this group of services. And then this one, every single number is used except for 152, which got merged with 28, and so on and so forth. And then 131, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So every single number in this series has been used before. So there are 7 services here. Oops, you cannot see. There are 7 services here. There are a total of 9 services here, and all 10 services here are like included inside the group. But the main point is that regardless of how many services you have within the same number range, everything can be easily and neatly consolidated into just services 131 to 140. But right now the trend is that they want to put it such a way that, like, let's say Bukit Merah feeders, they have this over here, and then they have this one block of number 272, 273, so on and so forth. And then when it comes to Yishun, you have the same like blocks of numbers: 801, 803, 804, 805, 6, 7, 811, 812. So there is like a discrepancy in the number of services within the same group, and it is just really untidy aesthetically. So when you make this kind of drastic change to your format and you present it in blocks instead, this is where all the problems come. So surface, I mean, like, if you can see, no matter how I try to format it, can you see the difference between the color contrast? You see 136, there's like red and yellow, and there is like sort of chrome yellow and red, or even yellow and black, or chrome yellow and black, red and white, green and white, purple and white. this is the kind of thing whereby like it is just gonna cause a lot of issues towards people who are like partially colorblind or like fully colorblind. So what I mean is that, so I'm gonna take all of these, Control X, and then I'm going to paste them as an image, and then I'm going to format image. Thankfully, PowerPoint lets me do this. I'm going to change them all to something like black and white. This is assuming that said user is fully colorblind. So all they're going to see is something like this. Can you see this 136 over here? It is not very clear. And the color contrast between 142, which is like dark gray, and this 143, which is like an even lighter shade of gray, even though there's not much difference, and this 172, which was originally red, it is an even lighter gray. So when you have this kind of like awkward and inconsistent color contrast, it really limits the ability for people who are actually colorblind to be able to like differentiate all these numbers. And let me just tell you, regardless of whether you're like viewing it on a desktop or a phone in your default zoom settings, this is actually not this big. It is actually way smaller, like, okay, maybe a little bigger. All you see on the website is this, and all the columns are like not consistent because every number group has like a different number of like services within the exact same group. So all you see is this mess. And even when you talk about somebody with dyslexia, okay, so in case you didn't know, dyslexia is actually more complicated than you think, but one of the more common examples of dyslexia is that they are unable to tell the difference between the letter B, like when it's the lowercase and not the uppercase, and D. Because you know the uppercase is like they are distinct enough, usually, and most people that suffer from dyslexia are still able to differentiate them apart. But because this is like a mirror image, some people with dyslexia may have difficulty distinguishing between which one's the letter B and which one is the letter D. And the thing is that this one's numbers, it's not letters, but can you imagine that like you have all the different color contrasts, like, okay, maybe I'm gonna revert this to like the original colors. Okay, let's revert to original. When they see something like this, and when this particular 136 over here is like really difficult to read, they're gonna bump into a similar problem. So because the numbers are small, and even if they're bolded, because there is like so much unnecessary contrast between them, and because there is so much clutter on the actual website, so again, let me just try to help you guys visualize it. Oops. Hold on. Okay, so what I mean is that you know PowerPoint can do a lot of things. When I copy and paste this, and what you're gonna see on the actual website is just like this. Obviously it's not consistent. There are like some differences in like within, I mean there are different number of services within the same service group, the group of numbers, I'm sorry. All you're gonna see is something like that. Now obviously they're not gonna be the same numbers, but this would essentially pose a lot of problems for people who are unable to differentiate between different digits, like numerical digits or letters, but it's numerical digits in this case. This would also pose problems for people who are unable to distinguish between different shades or who are unable to like distinguish between like colors, like full colors. And also this also makes it really unfriendly for people who have poor vision and would prefer like this format instead. So as someone who has a minor case of dyslexia when it comes to numbers, okay, like I can memorize bus routes, but that's only because I'm able to contextualize what all the different numbers mean. Like I'm able to put a name, so-called name, on different services, like different areas. But I prefer this format because it's much tidier rather than having to like comb through this entire pool of like service numbers, which takes a lot of time. So in short, I'm not good at like differentiating between numbers. That's the reason why I cannot memorize Japanese train model number slash names unless they have like a name to it. So because I have like difficulty differentiating numbers, like let's say in general, I would prefer it in this format and not in this format. It's just cluttered and it messes with my brain as well as my spatial perception, because people that suffer from like any form of dyslexia, they just perceive things differently, like spatially, because it's not something that we can control. It's our brain just processes things differently and we just see it differently. And it can even be a case of something like this. Okay, that's probably not accurate, but okay, maybe if I just crop out the bottom line, like yeah. So our brain sometimes tells us stuff like that, especially when you have so much clutter. It's like different colors, like it's in these tiny little square boxes. They're not big, they're really tiny, be it on your phone or on the desktop. It's really tiny. It's the numbers are in bold, the color contrast is not consistent, and it becomes like a whole clutter. Like people like me sometimes are just unable to like process it quick enough, if you get what I mean. So I don't know how they manage to spin it in a way that says, oh, people with color blindness or dyslexia are not exempt from following the rules of SGWiki. Like, I didn't even mention anything about that. Whilst there is nothing wrong with that statement, it is being taken completely out of context. So the long story short is that when there's so much clutter, we just cannot process things efficiently. And it's not just people who have like disabilities rendering them being unable to read as efficiently as people without said disabilities. And even people who do not have said disabilities, like I think from your point of view, you would probably feel that this is also cluttering. It's like a whole big mess and inconsistent rows and columns and stuff like this. And it's an eyesore and a pain to read. But this all stemmed from like way back then. Okay, SGWiki, because it has wiki in the name, and then there was like some argument between the definition of an encyclopedia and stuff like that that I don't really want to dive into. But basically, ever since the beginning of time, or maybe let's say when I started using SGWiki, it was like around 2010, 2011. And even from like more than a decade ago, people have been using this site as a database, which means no one uses it as an informative encyclopedia. And because of this, the main administrator is like low-key complaining that, oh, SGWiki is like the downfall of it and stuff along those lines. But like the main point is that he is unhappy with people using it as a mere database and wants to market this wiki to the general public who don't even care about this wiki in the first place. Okay, but like as the Singapore bus community, like majority of us, we use SGWiki as a database ever since the beginning of time, and we still use it like the same way now. If we want something that's more informative, we go to LTG or we go to businterchange.net, which is run by my friend. And because the main administrator wanted like write-ups for every single service that's listed over here, he made individual pages for like, or he's aiming to make individual pages for like every single bus service in Singapore. So to give you guys a little bit of insight, I know that LTG, Land Transport Guru Info, they are run by a team, and I do know some people who are in the team. I don't know them like on a personal level. I'm not like exactly close to them, but I do know the people who are managing and running the site. And for businterchange.net, he is one of my friends, and right now he's like busy with work commitments and stuff, so that's why his website isn't really updated really frequently. But the thing is, LTG is more informative and is actually more of an encyclopedia, and most of the community is against SGWiki trying to mimic that whole encyclopedia style when most of us want it to remain as a database. So yeah, that was kind of like the whole of where the split amongst the community, and basically this was where all the arguments stem from. So I should probably say it's more comprehensive as well. LTG also has like, you know, it's also a database in a way, but it's a more informative and comprehensive database. And then for businterchange.net, I like the way that they integrated the use of like maps. It's not Google Maps, but it's another version of maps into it. And businterchange.net is very useful when it comes to like providing information regarding. I think the format's also really nice. So good job to my friend. It's also really useful when you're trying to find a specific bus stop and all the buses that go into said bus stop. I just think the user interface is like really clean. So for legal reasons, like legally, SGWiki trying to copy this like whole style and format is not considered plagiarism, because the whole thing about wiki and the way it's like written like as an encyclopedia or whatever, it's like a very basic, general and common concept. This is not considered plagiarism. It is only plagiarism if SGWiki were to take word for word, and even if you paraphrase it, it looks like 99% similar. Only then that you can remotely attribute it to like plagiarism. But I'm just gonna put it out there that in case anybody is still confused, it's technically not. But what SGWiki is trying to do is just trying to Control C, Control V this general format and add on things of their own, which there is nothing wrong with this, but I'm just saying that even from a mile away, we can see that it's like more or less the format is like at least the inspiration, it's like inspired by these two websites, or even you can say Control C, Control V. From a mile, we all can see it. And the whole point about them like trying to market this site as, LTG or bus interchange and all that, but it's more of LTG in this case, plus whatever extra information is like, I don't know, this just doesn't sit well with most of us. So I repeat, it is only considered plagiarism if SGWiki were to copy word for word LTG's exact phrasing, or like, paraphrase it. Even if it's paraphrased a little, but the entire format is like copy and pasted. If they okay, basically, if they were to do like it, if they were to copy every single one of LTG's pages and their write-ups for different services, even if it's paraphrased a little bit, only then can you attribute it to like actual plagiarism. But now it's more of like taking inspiration, and it's just that it doesn't sit well with most of us, if you get what I mean. Because the whole issue is that it's not just me, it's like almost the entire bus community, with the exception of people who take the side, who side with like the main administrator. But like, so from a database, which was how we all use this site regardless of whether the main admin likes it or not. Okay, to clarify, he has control over the site. He can, change the site according to how he sees fit. I'm just trying to point out that it doesn't sit well with majority of the bus community. And it's not just like a slight majority, it's like an overwhelming majority. And that's the reason why people have left SGWiki. They don't want to edit it over the years. So it's like a case of, despite repeated feedback, he just doesn't want to change, and he's trying to like gaslight all of us, in short. Because the difference is, if this is a site that is created merely to like make said main administrator happy and not for people to edit it as they wish, then okay, in that case we have no right to like, judge him based on it. But if this is a site that people have like contributed to it like over the years, and they don't even get paid for it, I just think it's a step in the wrong direction. Maybe I phrased it a little too extreme in the past, but it's like, again, I just feel that this is not the right direction that you're supposed to take, especially when this is like literally the only database until someone creates a new one that we can all rely on. So the whole issue is that them trying to turn this from a database into an encyclopedia, simply because the name has wiki in it. And the thing is that outside of buses or even trains, which they don't even get the information there correct, like the R151 numbering, it's this, and there is no one in front, as confirmed by SMRT themselves internally. I mean, stuff like that. But it's like, other than buses, no one really like visits the other pages that's like in wiki, in like this SG wiki. So he's trying to turn it into an encyclopedia. He's trying to make it like, how to say, it's like polluted or dominant with aesthetics and not like actual functioning. How do I put it? It's like, doesn't really care about the functions of the website. He just wants his own narrative and his own functions, and he only cares about aesthetics as well as like marketing to, let's say, the general public, which don't even have any interest in the site, even though the site has existed for like decades and decades already. I forgot when this site was created, but you get the point. And because this narrative has already been set in stone like a few months ago or even last year, basically nobody is allowed to challenge him in that sense. I'm speaking objectively. I'm not trying to say like, I'm just stating the facts here. I'm just stating that basically pretty much no one is allowed to oppose this general idea or narrative, even though it is objectively not good for the Singapore bus community, because we have all been relying on LTG and businterchange.net, and right now it's like we have been using the other sites, and right now SGWiki is just trying to like mimic them and just add some things to it and and say, oh, SG Wiki is superior because we add on to those things. No, that's not how it works, but yeah. And the thing is, like, if you really wanted an edition, it's just a mere edition of, you know, how do I put it? If you just want to do write-ups for every single bus service in Singapore, nobody's stopping you from doing that. You can do that. The main issue with that that has been brought up many times by not just myself but different people within the bus community in Singapore. I mean, technically, am I even inside because I'm not from Singapore, I'm from Japan, but like you get the idea. It's like you want to create like these individual pages, like just as standalone pages, fine. Do not touch this format. Like, just do not touch it. Leave it like that. Just create an entire section that comprises of like write-ups of different bus services in Singapore, and you can have both formats at the same time. Don't destroy the hard work that the different people have put in over the years just because you want to, like, you know, you want to make it more aesthetic, you want to market it to the public who don't even care in the first place, you want to make it more encyclopedic or whatever that adjective means. Don't change the format, just add on to it. Like, please just leave it like this. It's fine. This is the format that we've all been used to and the format that we all accept. Just leave it like this. Like, look at this, especially on phones. This is like already desktop version and it's already so inconsistent. This is so hard to read. Like, you don't even need like the livery on here. If you really want to color code it, okay, you have like a text box over here, and then just make the color, like just color the whole box. And I'll be honest, like, even though I'm a history lover, I will just admit that I don't even care about this. Just, and many people have requested to put the advertisements column instead of this column, and I preferred it like when the former deployments were actually separated. If I wanted the former deployments, I would look for them. I don't get why they are like doing this and making all the rows and columns all inconsistent. And this is not just coming from me, it's coming from like many other people from the bus community as well. And again, this goes back to the whole people who suffer from color blindness debate. So yeah. And then in the history pages, I'm also quite like unhappy that they decided to do this to my history pages. Like, I want to see all of them at one glance. Don't make me go to the individual pages and then you're just gonna combine like the parent service and the short working trips together, and then you're separating those that aren't from the current era of services. You only want current services, and then you don't want the past services. You want to split it, you want to do it like LTG. I mean, it just consolidate all of them in one page. This is not an encyclopedia, it's a database. Okay, so to sum it up, yes, it's his site. You can do whatever you want with it, but if many people are like have like been relying on your site for years and they are unhappy with the changes, you gotta listen to them. Otherwise, people would just not use your site. They would just not want to contribute. They just don't want to edit your site in future if you just keep continuing this. And the other small issue I have is that, okay, so for context, businterchange.net is monetized in some way, and LTG, their sites, you see the advertisements pop up every now and then, it is monetized. So I don't get why SGWiki is saying, oh, my most faithful editors, but there's only a small handful of them and they are not even getting paid. It's like, if people have been making contributions to my site, like, you know, let's say moderators or like the other admins or whatever, like, I would at least have the decency to pay them. And even if I don't pay them, I will probably give them something, a gift, draw them something nice, draw their favorite bus, or like I will just do something nice for them. I don't go around saying, oh, dear my faithful editors, thank you for listening to me and not listening to other people. The thing that doesn't really sit well with me is the fact that like it's basically free labor. Those people don't even get paid, and then they're just told to like do the dirty work. And the other thing is basically this whole wall of shame. And again, I don't care that my name is on there, but my friend apparently his name is on there for like the stupidest reasons. And can you imagine your whole site just becomes this hall or wall of shame for people who don't agree with the way you do things? That's just is just not a good look for the site. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like it is a must to pay your editors or contributors to the site, but I'm just saying if they've worked hard for you for so long, do the decent thing. Now, I don't have evidence of whatever I just said, but the site isn't monetized and you can kind of tell what that means. I don't have to say it out loud. And again, just because your site has additional information doesn't mean you're better than the other sites out there. Look, I know that like it's your site, but like if many people call you out for like not listening to them, then honestly it's on you, because it's like for everyone to edit. It's not just a site that is for you to like is for your own whatever what am I talking? It's like this site is not for you to enjoy, it's for other people to enjoy as well. And if other people can edit it, you gotta listen to them. If majority of the bus community wants it to remain as a database, then you should let it remain as a database. If you want to add like, several elements to it to make it look more like an encyclopedia, you can add them on, but don't disrupt the pages that are already existing, you know. So this whole saga pretty much just shows that main admin just wants everything done his way. Some people agree with him, majority of them don't. And before you come at me for saying something that I didn't actually say, spell my name right first.